Right, so today what I'm going to do is the latest episode of WandaVision, which is the final episode of WandaVision, just came out. I just watched it. I want to talk about the whole series as a whole now that it's done, and basically just, this isn't really going to be a review as per usual. This is more like theorizing what the show, how the show leaves off, and what that could mean for other MCU shows in this vein that are going to come out on Disney Plus and actually tie in with the movies in a big way, and what this could mean for the MCU going forward, because this show does a lot of things that are very interesting, and it introduces a lot of ideas that I think are really interesting ways of introducing certain characters. First off, I'm gonna talk about everything that I liked in the show first. Then I'm gonna talk about the stuff I didn't like, because there are some things that I didn't like. And then I'm gonna talk about where the MCU as a whole will be, where I think they're going with the MCU after this show, and like what this show actually means for the MCU. So stuff that I liked is Vision. I loved Vision's portrayal in this. Wanda as well. We get more of the two lead characters are the most interesting characters, as they should be. I like every character in this besides the main villain. I'll get onto that later. But yeah, I like every character in this. I think Jimmy Woo is the best Jimmy Woo has been. I loved him in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Here he's basically just more of the same. But he's not like an idiot. He's allowed to be smart, because he's not being played as like a kind of funny antagonist-ish. He's being played as like a kind of just kind of a usual cop. He's the tag-along basically to Monica Rambeau, who is also a very interesting character. And it's interesting to see how she reacts to whenever Captain Marvel is like name dropped. She kind of has this like cold. She doesn't really think very highly of Captain Marvel, probably because she never came back to see her mum before her mum died. And it's also shown. So one of my favourite scenes in this whole show is when Monica comes back, and she's actually seeing everyone come back from the snap, basically, and it's like a horror movie. It's like something you'd see out of a horror. So we're seeing everyone go away. That was at the end of a MCU film. So they couldn't really go too graphic into it. They fucked some people up with Spider-Man dying, but they didn't go super into, like, more in Endgame. They didn't go super into everyone coming back and how seeing people literally appear from dust out of thin air, that fucks you up as well. That whole scene was probably my favourite scene in the entire show, just because it showed, like, boots on the ground, what that looks like from someone that isn't a superhero. Yet, by the end of the show, Monica Rambeau does become a superhero within her own right. She gets her own powers, which aren't really explained. They're left nebulous, but she does become a character, and I think she will have stuff to do going forward. She's probably going to be in Captain Marvel 2 as some kind of supporting character. as I said, Vision in this is the best Vision has ever been, which is a shame because this version of Vision we'll probably never see again, unless if there's some way to have the Vision that's left off at the end of this. Going into kind of spoiler territory, there are two Visions in this show. There's the Vision that Wanda creates inside of the Hex, and there's the Vision that was killed at the end of Infinity War that's brought back, and he's like all white. So after the two Visions fight, the Vision that Wanda created basically unlocks all of the real Vision's memories, and the real Vision basically goes, and that's probably what season 2 will be. It's going to be Wanda finding Vision. So we have that, which is going to lead into a second season, or it's going to lead into what Wanda's role in Doctor Strange 2 is going to be. So we have that, which is really interesting, and hopefully that the Vision that is still alive is going to be the Vision that we had in this, because the Vision that we had in this is like has a personality, is actually like showing off Paul Bettany's acting chops, and this is a Vision that could like feel emotion towards Tony Stark's death. He could like actually grieve, and it's a Vision that like we can see emotion from, not like the other Vision that's like just a robot. But yeah, Wanda herself, she's kind of, it's weird. It's really weird. And then obviously we had the reveal of Quicksilver coming back, which blew up the internet, blew up Twitter. I kind of thought, I was shocked by it at first because of which Quicksilver it was, and then by the end of the season, by episode 9, they kind of revealed that it was kind of a fake out. So Quicksilver comes back, but it's not the MCU Quicksilver, it's the Fox Quicksilver, it's Evan Peters. But by episode 9, they're like, so it's not actually Quicksilver, it's just a guy that Agatha Harkness gave Quicksilver powers, and he came into the Hex and kind of to fuck with Wanda's mind and make her think that Quicksilver was, that Evan Peters was Quicksilver when it was just a random guy. I kind of have a problem with that, but also I don't think that completely rules out that way of bringing the X-Men into the MCU. It doesn't completely rule it out, because Doctor Strange is definitely 100% dealing with the multiverse, and Spider-Man 3 is 100% dealing with the multiverse, because of what we've seen from like set pictures and like the actual cast members saying this is what the movie is going to be about. With that being said, the fake out in this is kind of, it does kind of leave a sore taste in my mouth, because I wanted there to be more behind that. I wanted Evan Peters to be the Quicksilver in this universe from now on. I wanted there to be more of an allusion to mutants being in the MCU, and like this to be the actual turning point, because Wanda herself is a mutant, but the way that they deal with Wanda and the way that they kind of explain her powers is they kind of retcon it so that she was always like magical, she always had powers from the beginning, but the stone just heightened them, and there's a reason why her and Pietro like got given powers, but everyone else who Hydra tried the stone on died. But anyways, everything that I like is up to episode 9. Episode 9 comes along, it's the fight, and that's basically where I'm left with. The last episode is, in my opinion, probably the worst episode outside of the first two, because the first two are they're basically just sitcom episodes, with everything else, with like tiny little scenes that are like that are showing, right, something's wrong. And then episode 3 comes out, and there's even more of this. There's something wrong, and we see what is outside of the hex. And like the biggest thing for me, my biggest gripe is, where is Doctor Strange? I didn't think about it until the final episode, but with the sheer amount of magic that is like going on in this whole like season, in this whole show, like Wanda has literally taken over a town, is using that with magic. Why does Doctor Strange not do anything? He's very quick to deal with Loki, who isn't even on the planet at that point in Thor Ragnarok. But when Wanda has taken over a town and is fighting some other like witch with like magic abilities that's stolen one of his books, or one of the books from Kamatage, why is he not there? Why is he not involved in this entire show? That's kind of my only gripe. If you aren't like super like nitpicky, you won't really care about that. But that's my only gripe. It would make sense if Doctor Strange showed up, because one of the big things that they say at the end of Doctor Strange is he has awareness to when magic is being used, and he's also always tracking like big like magical dangers to humanity. I think Wanda in this show and Agatha Harkness count as magical dangers. Another thing that I didn't really like in this show is Agatha Harkness herself. I liked Agnes. I think everything to do with Agatha Harkness that I don't like happens when we find out that Agnes is actually Agatha Harkness. And then after that, I don't think she has much of a character outside of, I want your powers, Wanda, give me your powers. I don't think there's really much of a character there. I'm glad that she's a one and done. I'm glad that she's not being carried over into Doctor Strange 2. And I don't like her character. I don't think she's a very good like character. I think she's good as like, she's good in the first few episodes, and then when they do the reveal that it was Agatha all along, that's when her character kind of fails. It's like Scar in The Lion King. Scar is really good until he becomes king, and then he becomes king and there's no character there. But now I kind of want to dive into where this show leaves off. Wanda looking for Vision, and how I think that's going to turn out. So this show doesn't do what a lot of people thought it would do, which is introduce mutants into the MCU. I think Wanda's whole like hex thing has, I think that like I don't know. I don't really have a theory to how mutants are going to pop up, but what I think will happen is something will happen in Multiverse of Madness, and that's going to bring people back, or bring the X-Men into the MCU. I have a feeling that Wanda is going to go straight to Doctor Strange. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. How do I know this is going to happen? I don't even think Doctor Strange knows who Vision is, but I have a feeling she's going to go to Doctor Strange because he's the only character that's like magical and that would know how to track Vision. There's no other character, because Tony Stark's not alive, so there's no other character that would like be able to track Vision. And also Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange too, so that's what I think the setup for that movie is going to be, and then multiverse hijinks happens. Outside of that, this does kind of set up Young Avengers, but doesn't, because Wanda has 2 kids during this show. She has Wiccan and Speed, but by the end of the show they don't exist anymore, because they were made in the Hex, and when she puts down the Hex, the Vision inside and Wiccan and Speed don't exist. But the thing is, we already know that Kate Bishop is going to be in the Hawkeye show. I could assume that Patriot is going to show up in Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I think there is going to be a Young Avengers type team set up at some point. We also have Ironheart getting a show and Miss Marvel getting a show, so there could be like champions. That could be what's going on next, instead of a Young Avengers team. And the Wiccan and Speed thing could be just because it feels, I don't think Wiccan and Speed are gone. I think they exist somewhere. I think like the Vision stuff is, I think Vision, or the Vision that was in the Hex, is gone, but I don't think Wiccan and Speed are gone. And why don't I think that? Because it's Wiccan and Speed. Because I think they're probably going to show up as like aged up outside of the Hex. They're just going to show up in like either season 2 or in Multiverse of Madness, and they're just going to be like, oh, hi mum, how are you? I'm 17 now, and I'm dating this Kree/Skrull bloke called Hulkling. That's probably, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I think Hulkling is gonna show up in the Secret Invasion show that Nick Fury's meant to be in. But that's kind of all I have for theories outside of this, because they do. I don't think Wanda is going to be a mutant. Maybe if they say in Multiverse of Madness, right, we are going to bring back the X-Men. Quicksilver's coming back, and you're going to be like, oh, I recognise you. You're that other guy. You're not my brother. And he's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's my dad. Here's my dad. His name's Magneto. Kind of thing. I honestly don't know, because all of the stuff that we thought could have been happening with the X-Men was kind of swept under the rug in the last episode. Not saying that last episode is bad, just saying that the last episode doesn't help. It doesn't help. But, yeah, overall, WandaVision is really good. And it interested me more than I thought it would. I thought I would just not be interested in any of these Disney Plus shows, because they're about characters that I wasn't really interested in the films. Mainly WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier. Rhodey's getting a show at some point. I don't think anyone cares about War Machine. Who cares about War Machine, right? But I think the best thing about these shows is exactly that. It's focusing on the characters that aren't really popular in the movies and don't really get the screen time because they are secondary characters. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on WandaVision. I loved it. Overall, I think it's an amazing show. I think that if you haven't seen it already, well, I mean, if you haven't seen it already and you at this point in the video, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for basically spoiling the entire show for you. But yeah, if you want to go watch it and you haven't seen it already, go watch it. It's great. I cannot recommend it enough, and it probably will be, by when the movies can start coming out again, like in the cinema, this will probably be one of the most important things to come out in the MCU, outside of Avengers Endgame, outside of the big Avengers movies. This is probably going to be the most important thing. I'm really excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier now. It starts next week, next Friday, and yeah, I'm really hyped for all of these shows now, because WandaVision set a standard, and it set this is what we can expect. I don't think Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be as like, oh, so we're bringing in the Fox Fantastic Four now. I don't think that's going to be what Falcon and Winter Soldier is. I think that's just going to be an action show. It's going to be like the Mission Impossible, where this was like Doom Patrol. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier will be like Titans. I think it'll be like that. It'll be an action show. But anyways, that's my thoughts on WandaVision. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.